This is an Eye on Annapolis bonus podcast.
I'll tell you, the last time I spoke with my guest, I totally worked it because it was 9 a.m. my time, 6 a.m. her time. So I said, I'm going to say I woke up with Paula Poundstone this morning. And here we are again, but now it's later in the afternoon and back again. Paula Poundstone, how are you?
Hey, good enough. You know, I many years ago, because I live on the West Coast, and so a lot of interviews that I do, you know, it might be morning radio, and so it's, 7 o'clock their time, but 4 o'clock in my time. And I fell asleep on a morning radio interview one time. I woke up hearing Paula. Well, did you fall asleep? No, not at all. Everyone knew I did.
I think the last time we talked, I think you were snuggling in bed with your cats or something like that. But
big possibility. One of my favorite things to do.
True. Well, I will say that you are coming back to Ram's Head on stage on December 19th for a single show. And I will also say that December is, damn it all, that's where you belong. You did this June thing a couple years ago, and it was just not right because you're like a December person here in Annapolis.
Yeah, I don't even recall doing a June thing, but you're right. That's not right. December is my month there. I've been coming there in December for as long as I can remember. Can't believe I slipped in a June.
I know.
The hell?
I know. I was like, this isn't, who's Paula? Where's Paula? What have you done with her?
Yeah. It's part of my beautiful holiday celebration. Is going to Ram's Head in December, and sometimes there's a little bit of black ice. Not always, but enough that my hips tingle when I walk across the sidewalk. Not always.
There you go. Well, hey, it's a good pre-birthday celebration because you got a birthday coming up at the end of the month too.
Yeah. I'm not much of a birthday person. I have a friend who I swear was born into the world knowing when other people's birthdays are.
Oh, that wasn't me, man. It was Wikipedia all the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can't keep track of things. My kids get irked at me that I don't. I mean, I look it up. I know roundabout. Oh, okay. I know their birthdays. I don't always know their ages.
That's fair.
Yeah.
You ask me my kids' ages. I don't know. They're like late 20s, early 30s, something like that, and we'll call it a day.
Yeah, I know they're eating solids. I think that's what you really need to know as a parent. They're eating solids. That's fine. They're in their 30s, but they're eating solids.
True. Well, I'll tell you, what do you bring into us on December 19th? And again, it's one show. It's 6:30 p.m. It's early because I guess we're all old, right?
That is more of an after-school special, really, than a show. Wow, 6:30. No, I've done 6:30 shows there before. They have sort of blackout, drapes that they pull down. We simulate adulthood. I talk a lot about what's going on in the world, probably more about coping with it than thoroughly understanding it. In fact, I talk a lot about trying to figure out how the hell we got here. But one of the great things about being at Ram's Head, because usually I am in theaters and they're bigger and the audiences are further away from me. There's a gulf in between myself and a theater audience usually. The thing about Ram's Head is that, we're almost wearing the same pants, me and the audience. The audience is right on top here. The stage isn't like a big high up stage. It's just like a couple of inches high. It's barely discernible as a stage. And one of the things I love about that is just talking to the audience. I do the time-honored, where are you from, what do you do for a living? And in this way, little biographies of audience members emerge, and I use that from which to set my sails. So I don't have like a prepared set. I have jokes that I've done before, and one might recognize a joke that I've done before. But I also have 46 years of material rattling around somewhere in my head, and probably, and on a good night, and I like to think some are, probably about a third of the night is unique just to that night.
You know, I'd often heard that Carlin scripted 100% of his stuff. And I love when you can get an improv or an impromptu and just feed off of the audience. I mean, I know it's crowd work and everything else for you, but I mean, you are a master when it comes to it. That is the
strangest phrase. A friend of mine on a podcast was the first person to ever use that phrase to me. What is it? Crowd work, which apparently it's just a strange. I don't know. I don't view it as work, and B, I don't know. It's just such a strange thing, because, you know, when you have a conversation, like say you're at a party, perhaps even a holiday party, are you doing crowd work? Is that what you're doing when you're talking to people? I don't think so.
Yeah, that's true.
You're just talking to people. It's just a conversation. But yeah, it's you know, when I first started in '79. Before the hideous phrase crowd work was discovered, really, I just a lot of times would forget what I meant to say. And so I would sort of be forced to turn to an audience member. And, you know, somewhere probably within the first year or two of telling my little jokes on stage, because at first I thought that was like a bad thing. It showed some discipline, some inability, blah, blah, blah. I always kind of chastised myself about it. But somewhere within 1 or 2 years, I realized, boy, you know what? The parts where I had no idea what I was going to say were kind of the heart and soul of the night. So everything I do, my show is a bit of a hybrid. You know, like I say, on a good night, probably a third is unique just to that group of people that was there in front of me.
That's the mark of a true comic. Do you comic or comedian or comedian? What do you prefer?
Oh, either way, any of it. I respond to all.
Well, I'll tell you, you mentioned what, 43 years? Is that what you said?
46.
46 years. Is anything easier now? I mean, obviously you've got some stuff in material. You've got the material that you can reference back and stuff like that. But I mean, what's easier now for you with 46 years under your belt?
I think, you know, and it's not so much like these types of stand-up shows where this surfaces, but, you know, occasionally I'm asked to do things like host an awards show, not a televised awards show, but, you know, a lot of associations. And I mean, here in the Los Angeles area, I for a number of years, I hosted the Art Directors Guild Awards, where you know, the people who do the art direction for television and movies and even commercials would be, you know, honored. But like, you know, I've been called upon to MC for many different organizations, many different times. And it took me years to be able to say, well, you know what? I hate award show humor. And so I won't do that part. I mean, I'll MC, but I'm not going to read bad award show humor. Took me years to say that, or to go like, you know, I've done this for 46 years, and so I feel some amount of confidence in my decision to do it this way. And by the way, I don't think anybody knows, you know, what's going to go over. There's about 1 million factors, and so I don't think anybody knows what's going to go over. But again, it took me years to be able to say, well, although I don't claim to know what's going to go over, I do claim that I'm the person on stage who will take the flack when it doesn't. And so I would prefer to do it this way that I have some confidence in. You know, just took a really long time. I used to think everybody else knew more than me, or I didn't want to rock the boat.
Well, I think that's natural. That's natural in anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, Yeah, a lot of it's just like a personality flaw, I think, just not, and there are times where, I did a special 1,000 years ago called Cats, Cops, and Stuff, for HBO, Cats, Cops, and Stuff. And at the time, I had done a couple of stand-up shows with HBO that were, had other comics on them. But I got hired to do like my own hour or whatever it was. This is a long time ago. And so my manager at the time it says to me, and they had a relationship with the HBO, these managers did. So he says to me, okay, yeah, they're going to give you your own hour. But they say you can't talk to the audience. And I just, my jaw kind of dropped. I said, well, then why are they hiring me? That doesn't make any sense. That's like, I don't know. That just doesn't make any sense. It's like hiring Clarence Clemens and saying, yeah, but no horn. So I just was like, well, that doesn't. And so I went to the mat on this, which I never did back then. But I went to the mat on this. Now, in fairness to HBO, technology is different now than it was then, because this is a long time ago. So picking up audience interaction with, microphone, you could film it, but getting the audio was very difficult back then, right? The audience members weren't all wearing lavalier mics, and they weren't. And when I talked to somebody, I didn't have them stand up in the aisle in front of a microphone like some kinds of events do. So getting them mic'd was a challenge. And what they ended up doing was they hung microphones from the ceiling. And then the other thing is, anytime I talked to somebody in the audience that night, I'd say, like, you, the guy in the red sweater, there was a boom mic operator. So the boom mic is the big furry one that people make jokes about. And it's a long stick that they have to sort of carry over their head and then force the boom mic towards the mouth of the speaker, but not in the frame of the camera shot. So the boom mic operator, when I would say the man in the red sweater, right, the guy would see where I was pointing and he would haul ass and run over there in time to, get my exchange with this person. And we rehearsed during the day, not with any lines or anything, but we rehearsed with production people sitting in chairs and me pretending to go, I'd go, you, sir, in the striped shirt, right? And the boom mic guy practiced running over. I was like, okay, we got this. So I'm on stage that night. Long story short, which I've never done before. I have an exchange with a woman who tells me that her mother had gotten injured in some sort of a gas service station or transmission shop or something. And I said, well, what happened? And she wouldn't say right away. She was like kind of reluctant to say. And I really pushed her to tell me what happened. And it turns out that her mother's face, she fell on a lube rack. And her face was torn off. Oh. And so I have pushed this woman to tell me what happened because, I'm so good talking to the audience, and I insisted HBO film me talking to the audience. And it was pretty early on in the show when it happened, too. And she says, well, she fell on a lube rack and it tore her face off. And in my head, all I could picture was how angry HBO was going to be at me. I just pictured like the guy, them all sitting out in the truck where they, the big vehicle where they have the camera shots and stuff. And that right now they're all just, their jaws are dropped and they are cursing me. And so when the person said, she fell in a loop rack and her face got torn off, I had I had this very natural reaction, which is I just went, ah! And for some reason, like it was, talk about magic. For some reason, my odd reaction and the just like, I can't believe I made this woman say this and it's so awful for a comedy show. The audience howled. People come up to me to this day and say, oh, the Lubrac story. And some people have even said to me, are you going to do the Lubrac thing tonight? There are some people that actually thought it was like a prepared thing. It wasn't even good comedy, really, let alone prepared. I mean, it was just the magic of the moment that made it take off. But otherwise, I had just, like, oh yeah, let's talk to the audience.
Oh Jesus, who would have thought? I mean, and it's so funny when you first said that. My first reaction was to laugh. She fell on a Lubrac, and I'm laughing. And then you said, and ripped her face off. And I'm like, oh man, I'm going to hell.
Yeah, no, horrible visual, horrible, and people take a second to process it. But I think I knocked that processing second out of their heads because I went, oh.
That's the beauty about comedy, though, is, I mean, there's just, you never know what's coming up, and very few things are off limits, depending on what the show is. I mean,
and I have the best audiences. I do not have the largest audiences, that's for sure, but I do have the best audiences. Getting people talking and stuff, and everybody. I would argue that everybody, when you get them talking, is great. And of course, at Ram's Head, although, I mean, Annapolis is one of the communities surely that's gotten, knocked upside of the head by job losses. Sure. With, Doge and the like. But, for the most part, anybody I ever talked to in the room at Ram's Head was like, well, I work for the government. And then I always get them to explain what exactly they do. And that's always a lot of fun because sometimes there's minutia to it. By the way, they are public servants, and oftentimes doing work that's, to the layman, not all that exciting. And thank goodness someone was doing it. But now that we don't count numbers anymore, I love that they're using, DoorDash to interpret the strength of the economy based on DoorDash sales. Lord D, how far we've fallen, huh?
You're not wrong there. That's for sure. I'll tell you what,
Trump said at McDonald's. Did you see his McDonald's speech?
Oh, I heard bits and pieces of it. And then I saw the thing on Truth Social with the grimace.
Well, he said to the McDonald's franchisees, is who he was addressing, and he said to them that he was talking about stuff that why would they care about that? But I think he kept trying to sort of tie everything in. Like he would realize that he'd gone far astray from the subject matter, and so he'd try to bring it back with talking about the time he served the French fries, or somehow tying everything into McDonald's. So he was talking about when they. When he sent the airplanes to drop the bombs and the Iran, nuclear, right. Blah, blah, blah. And he goes, they knew, he said, they knew something was happening. They knew we were coming because they looked and they saw the sales at the nearby McDonald's were skyrocketing. Like he was suggesting that before they all went and got in planes for 30-something hours,
right? They all went to McDonald's.
Went to the McDonald's first, and that this created for, I guess, Iranian defense people. They went, wait a minute, something bad's happening. They're all at McDonald's. It's the stupidest thing I ever heard of in my life. Well, one of the stupidest.
Well, you've got plenty of material coming out of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. That's
You do. Years ago, I had a car that was always broken down. I was literally in the shop over 40 times in 8 months. I would go on the road. I would come home. I would drive the car. It would break down. I would take it to a shop. I would go on the road. I'd come home, right? 40 times in 8 months. And I was pretty much beside me. It was the first car I ever owned. It was a 65 Mustang, and it was not new. But it was so frustrating. I just spent so much of my life on the side of a road or dealing with, corrupt auto mechanics. And one day my roommate said to me, I was telling her something about once again being on the side of the road. And she goes, well, it's good for material. And I just flipped. I was just like, you know what? Thank you. I don't need my life to suck to be able to come up with jokes. And I feel the same way about our government. I feel like, you know what? Everything could run smoothly. We could have, people with brains and that weren't up to their necks in gang-style crime. We can function well and still find funny things in the world. Don't you worry about that.
We don't need the comic in chief living in.
We really don't. You know what? I'll tell you something. Here's where we made a big mistake. You know what we should have done? Well, never elected him. But the guy, he wants to be a comic. He wants that more than anything. The thing he wants now more than anything in the world is to stay out of jail. But outside of that, he wants to be a comic. He thinks he's funny. And I confess that occasionally I have thought he was funny. Occasionally I have thought he said something that was actually funny. If it wasn't, the problem is that he's already committed so many crimes and done so many awful things. It's hard to see something he says as funny, like against that backdrop. But if you took away all the crime and fraud, and just let him, what we should have done instead of electing him was give him a variety show, and he would be, it would pacify him. It would have, it would be like when you're, I don't know, wasn't there like a Jurassic Park or something where, they threw some meat in one direction so that they could go in the other direction or something, right? Yeah. That's what he needs.
Fire Colbert and replace him with Trump.
Oh my God, that would be the thing. I bet you it would lure him in. It would be. We did a pretend wedding for my oldest daughter when she was 9. She told me one day that she wanted to be married, and I said to her, "What is it about marriage you think you would enjoy?" And she said, "The dress." And I said, okay, I think you're confusing two things. I said, marriage is really for older people, but the wedding, you could do a wedding. So I said it kind of facetiously at first, although it was accurate. But we ended up making for a party this wedding for my oldest daughter, who was 9 at the time. And my son was going to be the ring bearer, and he was only 2. And he was at that really like koala clingy stage, just always on my hip. And so then I realized he had his little tuxedo and his little black slipper socks. And I realized, wait a minute. And we had 50 people. It was a beautiful wedding. And I realized, wait a minute, how do I get him to walk up the aisle? And so we made a row of Cheetos. And like a squirrel, he ate his way up. And the rings I had tucked into his socks. So he didn't really have to do anything once he got up there. Except for give us
What a great mom you were. 9 years old.
You know what? I not always a great mom, but I had my moments. And, it's an up and down kind of a thing. Some things you get right, some things you get wrong. But the wedding is a great memory. Everybody really enjoyed it, and my daughter had a great time. And just everything about it was a riot. I drove a Saab back then, a convertible Saab, and some friends had done the just married thing on the back of the car and tied Diet Pepsi cans to the back of the car. And the honeymoon, because she got married to a neighbor friend, our friend Katie, and the honeymoon was at the Baskin Robbins, and Katie's high school age brother and his friends, who were too hip for the room, they wouldn't, because it was an outdoor thing, they watched from the street. They wouldn't come over and sit down in a chair and watch. They watch from the street, and they're on their bicycles. So when we get the kids in the car, to go on the honeymoon to Baskin Robbins, the boys who had been watching from afar decide that they're kind of into it now. And so they rode in front of us on their bicycles as like an escort. And the girls in the back of the car, because I don't know what people thought when they saw us. I think they just thought people having a good time, I guess. But everybody honking and waving. They're just married.
That's awesome, man. I would have rather have gone to Baskin Robbins for my honeymoon than I.
It was a great honeymoon. Well, Kathy Najimy did the ceremony. She officiated. And when I called her up to ask her if she would do it, she was on her way out. This may have even been pre-cell phones, but she was on her way out. And so I needed to get to the point quickly, which of course is not my strength. But I said, look, having this pretend wedding for toast, and I explained about, what is it you like about marriage, the dress. I explained about that. And Kathy goes, okay, let me get this straight. She goes, all right, so she's having a wedding with no marriage. I go, yeah. Yeah, that's what it is. And so she goes, okay, got it. Yes, I'll be there. And we hang up the phone. And so when the event rolls around, oh my God, her officiating was so damn funny. She says, I think that Tosha, who's my daughter, she goes, a brilliant idea, a wedding with no marriage. It's going to last longer.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, it really was brilliant. And then we all played ping pong. So that's the best.
What a day. Well, I'll tell you, it's funny you say that, long story short, you don't do that too well and you don't do things too shortly. I hoped that we could talk to you for like 10 or 15 minutes. And here we are going on a half hour. And I absolutely love this because every time I've talked to you, Paula, it's funny. It's just like I say hello and just hang on. And just see what happens, what comes out of this. And it's just never disappointing, but you will not be.
Well, that's very sweet of you. Thank you.
Well, you will not be disappointing anybody that gets to Ram's Head on stage on December 19th for 6:30 show with Paula Poundstone. It's one show only. It's a December show. So that's where she belongs. And for anything Paula Poundstone, you want to go to paulapoundstone.com. And for those podcast people, you want to subscribe to Nobody Listens to Paula Poundstone. Hysterical podcast, a lot of fun. And tickets, Ram's Head on stage. And I can't wait to see you. I guess we're now probably about a month out, so I can't wait to see you in a little bit.
Oh, thank you so much. You know what? I want to tell listeners one more thing, which is I have a series of videos. I call them Hey Donald Trump videos. And the premise is that I am talking directly to Donald Trump. And they're on they're on my website. They're on YouTube and Instagram and I think TikTok. They're wherever you find things like that. And I do them every day. And I started in mid-August. I don't know. People seem to feel that it's helping them cope with the mess we're in.
And that we are in a mess. I will make sure I get the links to them in the show notes as well and make sure I'll include the latest copy in there or the latest video in it.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
That'll be amazing. So we will see you on the 19th, Paula. Thanks so much.
All right. Thanks. I'm looking forward to it. Take care.
Hey, Donald Trump. It's just me, Paula Poundstone. I'm in a hotel room because I'm doing a show in Alexandria, Virginia tonight. I have the best audiences. Not the biggest by any means, but the best. They are delightful to entertain and meet. And that's what I want to talk to you about. Your approval rating is at 38% among Americans, according to Reuters. Congratulations. That is all you. 38% of Americans must just love you. I mean, you have done some cartoonishly dastardly stuff, but 38% of Americans love you so much, they just don't care. You pardoned the January 6th insurrectionists, so you won them over. And although I don't know this for a fact, I would be willing to bet all of the profits from my cat Larry's Larry and I Love Democracy t-shirts in both baseball and standard styles available at paulapoundstone.com that a lot of those violent January 6 nutters are the untrained thugs hiding behind their masks and bulletproof vests, kidnapping and beating American citizens without any kind of due process or identification. So they're Team Donald, all right. And their mothers probably love you too. You're having the military kill Venezuelan fishermen again without any due process at all. Making deals with other countries that pay off for you, but cost the rest of us, like your big plane from Qatar, that the taxpayers are paying to retrofit. You fired dedicated civil servants and left vital parts of our government in the hands of totally unqualified people like Kash Patel and RFK Jr., who I think may be from the Louisiana Kennedys. You've gotten rid of the part of law enforcement that watches foreign election interference. Never had a problem there, huh? You've gotten rid of oversight on the crypto industry. You pardoned the head of the crypto company Binance, who had pleaded guilty to crypto crimes and is in business with your sons. And of course, there's the billionaires that you cut taxes for, so they love you, and that's to be expected. But the rest of the 38% of Americans who love you no matter how reprehensible you are, that's all you. Congratulations. You should get like a trophy for that or something. Ask the FIFA people.
This has been a bonus podcast from Eye on Annapolis. Please visit us at eyeonannapolis.net. Follow us on Facebook at All Annapolis and on Twitter at Eye on Annapolis. And if you haven't subscribed to the Daily News Brief podcast, go for it. And all of your local news will be delivered to your phone, tablet, or smart device by 6 a.m. every Monday through Friday.